It's time again for Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.
Welcome to Talking Trade. I'm Sandi Siegel, president of ME Day. It's a pleasure today to introduce our guest, Jason Serck. And Jason is the Economic Development, Planning, and Port Director of Superior. So welcome, Jason. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I'm really interested in talking about your role as port director in Superior. The port of Duluth and Superior has a really rich history. I think many of us, it's considered the capital of the Great Lakes cargo.
For sure.
We're located at the westernmost tip of Lake Superior and the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Seaway, which of course is so vibrant to here for us in the Midwest. And it is the North America's farthest inland freshwater seaport, which, you know, when I looked at it on the map, that made a lot of sense. So again, a lot of rich history and certainly has changed over the decades. Tell us a little bit about what's going on now in regards to the activity, commodities, and you know, the significance for the economic climate in the area.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, and really appreciate getting the word out about the port and about Superior, about Duluth. We are one port. We tout ourselves as that, as the Duluth Superior Port, or the Superior Duluth Port, as we like to say it. But yeah, right now, you know, from the standpoint, we're really looking forward to this year. We came off a pretty strong fourth quarter last year, particularly in grain and taconite. So we're really looking at that. But our commodities are pretty diverse, actually. We do a lot of grain trade coming from western Minnesota, North Dakota, some wheat, beet pellets, things of that nature come through. A lot of those go overseas via salty. We just actually had our first, we always make a big deal out of the first salty traversing the seaway. We just did that ceremony last week. They were early, which the climate, of course, has kind of contributed to that a little bit. So that they came and picked up some grain, some wheat to bring back overseas. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Taconite, as it continues to be a huge commodity that comes off of the Iron Range of Minnesota. There's a large facility, a Canadian national facility in Duluth that loads taconite, as well as one in Superior here that's owned by the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. So very robust, a lot of steel mills making steel, and not only for, you know, vehicles, but also, you know, sheet piling and things of that nature. So that's a huge commodity. Smaller, we do have we had a fairly robust coal facility here. Of course, that has changed over the years since we've been, you know, going more to renewables, natural gas. At one point, that facility was moving about 22 million metric tons a year. Now it might hit 5. So that has really decreased over the years. But coal is also comes out of our port. And then just bulk materials, stone, as I mentioned, coal, some materials for the Iron Range, like some clay, things of that nature that comes. So pretty robust here. And a good diversity of moving product and actually importing product as well.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss to not include the port of Duluth as well. They have a pretty unique windmill import laydown area that comes in via Europe. So that they're hoping this year will kind of go on an uptick as well. So last year, it's the last couple of years it's been down, but this year they've got some orders coming in. So yeah.
That's terrific. And it's encouraging to see how you've been able to reinvent yourself in, you know, with the changes in, you know, the commodities and shipping and so forth. And I don't think a lot of people realize that it is a, you know, intermodal cargo facility. And I as a forwarder also am aware of the ability to do some of the heavy lift project cargo, which is really useful for us here in the Midwest. So a very robust port, again, and nicely located for us here in the Midwest.
Yeah, not only port, but also the cooperation with our many trucking firms that we have here.
Right.
And, we have the big four railroads too, so that we have access to, which, makes it, more efficient, and just easier to traverse and make things happen.
Move cargo, absolutely. So in addition to, some of the reinventing, if you will, you've had a bit of a windfall by being awarded some grants that will also realize quite a bit of development and infrastructure in the port area. So tell us first about the project to aid Reiss Company in doing some of the rehabilitation of their dock. And then I understand it will be improving or expanding the operations there. Tell us about that project and your involvement there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So it's been about 4 or 5 years in the making with this one. Stacking money to be able to make it happen. It's about a $23 million project. Reiss many years has owned this vacant dock for quite a few years. They have an operation in Duluth. But that operation has found itself with a failing dock that's been flooding. They've had some rail issues there. And so they looked at just moving their entire operation over, which quite frankly is a reconstruction of the dock. It's a ton of civil work. It's a new dock wall, it's dredging, it's new buildings, as well as a new rail spur. So we were able to, with Reiss as a partner, we were able to score $8.3 million from the federal government's the PIDP program that's run by MARAD, Maritime Administration, as well as we were able to get 2 grants from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation's Harbor Assistance Program, which we've been very, very blessed to have over the years, and been very successful in getting dollars there as well, to the tune of about $3 million. Reiss has put in the rest. So it's a win-win. It kicked off in August, ahead of schedule because the winter has been very, very favorable. And I think they're hoping to at least push a little bit of product through there starting this summer. Some of it hinges on some of the rail stuff, but it's been a very quick turnaround. Don't get me wrong, there's still quite a bit to do. But it's been a really good project, and a lot of patience as we kind of make our way through these things with some of the approvals at the federal level. But I tell you what, our city council, our mayor, everybody has been very supportive of this project, as well as other projects that we've been able to kind of push through this port over the years. So it's been very, very good.
Well, and it's exciting to see a lot of the infrastructure development going on, with some of these grants and the DOT grants and, the infrastructure bill. So again, great for the economy and for our industry and transportation. Bridges are certainly a big topic of conversation these days. And, in that same regard, you had an exciting visit from President Biden earlier this year.
Yes.
And talking about the federal funds for the Blatnick Bridge. And I think that's an example of, some of this trucking and transportation that you were commenting on earlier, and, how that's so vital to the Duluth and Superior traffic. And tell us a little bit about that project and what it means for the community and expanding the supply chain and being able to support that.
Sure. Again, a lot of years in the making for this one. It's seen its limits with loads and things of that nature, and it's time. And as you mentioned, President Biden and an administration has awarded us $1 billion, not the city per se, but the DOTs, and the DOTs of Minnesota and Wisconsin have put in, $400 million apiece. It'll be by the time we're done with it, probably a considerable, little over $2 billion project, which is huge for our area. A lot of, putting a lot of people to work, things like that. A lot of considerations have gone in on the port side with this. When it comes to height, it's pretty much going to stay the same. So we were, that was one of the things that we were worried about, is that we wanted to make sure that the not only the span, but also the height stayed the same, so that shipping would be uninterrupted as we go through this. It's going to be a little scary around here as well. The bridge is going to be closed for 5 years. We have,
Okay.
of course, 2 bridges here. We have the Blotnick as well as the Bong Bridge.
Okay.
So it will push some traffic over to the Bong. Putting my economic development hat on, we are in the process of working with the DOT on relocating some businesses because they are going to be bought out by the DOT because of the bridge is going to have a little different route.
Okay.
So we were working with some of our existing businesses, Superior Lidgerwood Monday, which has been in existence for over 100 years. And, we have got a Peterbilt, we've got a facility, a smaller environmental facility, a large trucking company that's getting affected. So we're working with some of those folks to help with that, but we're also a little worried about some of our downtown businesses and, working through and making sure people are aware of what's going on, as
Right.
well as making the state aware through the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Have been very supportive of helping facilitate meetings to kind of get businesses geared up and maybe actually helping us with some dollars to help folks through this. So, yes, it's exciting times for a new bridge and whatever else, but it's also scaring some people on, from an access standpoint, because we're not really worried about the first year. We're worried about years 2 through 5, when our friends from Michigan, our friends from Southern Wisconsin and Minnesota decide that maybe Superior is not worth the hassle.
Right.
And we want to
Right.
make sure that we continue to make sure that, yes, it is worth the hassle. So,
Right. Yeah, those long-term projects and staying focused on, the ultimate outcome
absolutely.
can be
But,
very difficult.
I can't say enough about the DOT,
Yeah.
both DOTs, and keeping people informed, and trying to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, as well as those folks from the DOT that are working with our, relocatees, the folks that are getting bought out, which, that's stressful enough.
Yes, right.
frankly.
So
yes.
yeah, I understand, that bridge is one of the largest links to our trade with Canada. Will that be impacted, or obviously
You know,
need to be
Yeah,
rerouted?
we're hoping to facilitate it. Our public works director has been working very, very closely with WisDOT and MnDOT on trying to get a little bit more connectivity between in the chatting of when things are going on and what traffic control looks like and those types of things to make it easy for that access. So that's kind of some of the behind the scenes work
Right,
that's going on right now that needs to happen to make sure that traffic controls are talking and that we're able to get people through here efficiently. We don't want backups to the span of the Bong Bridge. It's just not something that is really something we're striving for. So we want to make sure we keep traffic, because we're going to have a ton of traffic coming right through the middle of town here. So
right. Well, and we've all seen what happened, in Baltimore, and you lose a vital, gateway, and it can be, obviously planning for it helps quite a bit, as
absolutely,
opposed to it being a surprise, but
absolutely.
definitely a lot that goes into that. Well, Jason, I hope to have you back and you can give us updates and remind everybody to stay focused on the prize. Because it
Absolutely.
sounds like it's got a lot to offer the area in the long term.
Yep.
So thank you for joining us on Talking Trade, and I look forward to having you back.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anytime I can definitely provide any kind of updates you'd like. So, thank you.
Terrific. Thank you all for joining us on another episode of Talking Trade.
You've been listening to Talking Trade, sponsored by MMAC's World Trade Association and Michael Best Strategies.